What do you think about the Big Bang?
As Terence McKenna says, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. You know, like what precedes this. I mean, it's glorious and obviously demonstrable as a result of the movement of matter, but it doesn't solve a lot. It doesn't solve the problem of the Tuesday before the Big Bang is, of course.
But also, and look, people who I really think are way smarter than me, I know they are, about this subject, which I am very limited in astrophysics. Okay, that's just not my area.
Let's get into this.
I know the basics, but just the real basics. But you know, I fully believe Neil deGrasse Tyson knows this stuff on a level that I cannot understand. So I really, my point is, as someone who's not religious, I'm also just taking this on faith, because when you go into what the Big Bang is, that everything in the universe fit into something that as it could fit into your mini moil.
That's right. We could snip that. Maybe that's what caused it.
And let's go into what is fitting into something the size of a quarter. Okay, imagine the Earth being so compacted that it could fit into a quarter. Now, if I just said the whole Earth could fit in, you'd be like, that is so ridiculous. Okay, now let's add all the other planets and our sun and say they could fit in there. Oh, wow, now you're really stretching it. Okay, but it's not just our planets and our sun, it's all the planets and all the suns. So we're talking about trillions of stars, maybe trillions of galaxies, certainly hundreds of billions of galaxies, all fitting in something that small. Now, that does sound as ridiculous as God said to his child, son, I'm going to go send you down to Earth, and I've knocked up this Palestinian woman. She's going to have you, and then you're going to die and come back to life. Now, I don't believe that happened. But the other one about the Big Bang is almost as silly unless you're an astrophysicist.
Similarly, they require a curtailing of inquiry. At some point, you have to stop investigating, or you go, well, that doesn't make sense. What is the nature of consciousness? How does consciousness emerge from biochemical processes?
Right.
Why is Newtonian physics fallen apart in the quantum realm? Everything that we understood to be real. Why is matter mostly space? And what I'm saying is that in the end, through brinkmanship, you find yourself at the point of miracle. And the reason that I embraced spirituality is because it suggests a sense of ethics. Not that I know many great atheists, and both comics like Ricky Gervais and Brian Cox, and my country and stuff. And we mostly agree: be moral, love one another, be of service, all of those things. And so why focus on the points of distinction, really, when you agree on what appear to be the most fundamental aspects of it? But for me, the idea that what we are honouring is non-separateness, the glory of diversity and individuality, the sort of ever-expanding fractal nature of our reality, all of this wonder, all of this awe, and somehow is it relevant to the way we organise our systems of power or not? What are we going to do? Because once you extract the possibility of unity, once you extract the possibility that love has some value, some resonance, and perhaps is perhaps in fact the felt experience of oneness. Are you pouring that about knowing what it is?
I want to get... No, it doesn't matter. Continue. I'm listening to what you're saying. I want to hear it.
Is that urine?
No. Tell me, finish this thought. It's just, yes, I forgot that this was the soda.
I said, but...
Well, all right, then, as long as you stopped, I'd like to make this point about, I feel like when religion is ethical, it's coincidental. I'm not saying it's not, religion can't be, but it stumbles upon it like almost haphazardly. The Bible, the Ten Commandments, most of them have nothing to do with what we would call ethics or morality. The top four are just about God being jealous.
Actually, here I would differ.
Really?
I got an interesting perspective once on the Ten Commandments. If you consider them instead of edicts, and I know that the name commandment suggests that I've just commanded that you do that. But if you ignore that, and how I like to look at it is, if you consider when you are enlightened, you will not steal, you will not kill. And as for the point of worship no other gods than me, all of us engage in idolatry. What I believe the point that is being made is, if you do not find God, if you do not find your own God, which could be love, which could be America, which could be nature, which could be abundant and limitless things, if you do not find that, then everything is potentially God. Your lust suddenly is God. Your desire for entertainment is your God. Greed is your God. You shall worship no other gods than me. And this God is... submission for me, Bill, is not just about supplication so that you can be organized into a lovely little flock. It's about, it's the first system that you need to conquer is the self. If I can't overcome my ego, then I will live. That is my God. That's how I take it.
I get that. You're right.
Do you? This is quite complicated.
What's that? Your new American character?
No, this is my new American character.
But you're being very charitable to the author of the Ten Commandments, who lived in the Bronze Age and did not have your flowery interpretation. It's nice that you can put that on it. I mean, yes, that's a lovely way to interpret it. It's not what he meant. What he meant is there's a man in the sky.
It's difficult, isn't it, for us to discern what as it went through Aramaic to Greek to King James version.
They just didn't think like that back then. They didn't know what germs or atoms were. They were scared. They believed in gods in a very real. I've studied the Bible. I took a course on it at Cornell. The Bible. They definitely were not making this was not metaphorical. It was not.
I think that if you look at that book as literal, then I feel that its value is limited. And I think most articles of faith bear the inflection of the culture that they were produced by, necessarily and understandably. But what I would say about my obviously limited understanding of hermeneutics is that people appear in the desert faiths to be aspiring to some kind of unity. Now, I know there's stuff in there that's somewhat at odds with our modern take on reality, but I also would pull you up on, this is only a couple of thousand years ago. 10,000 years ago, we were basically the same pre-agriculturally. For hundreds of thousands of years, we lived in little tribal societies, organized around manageable relationships. Our nearest ancestors, the primates, when they hit communities of 70, 80, they split. And I feel there's so much to be learned from the values that preceded civilization as we understood it, particularly in a time like this of fracture and nihilism. So I'm not dismissive of any of that documentation, not least because how do these myths survive? Who do they serve? Now, you can make somewhat cynical arguments about like Protestantism succeeded in Northern Europe because it deified the work ethic. So it was like a good way of getting people into the grind, useful for agriculture, useful even when the Industrial Revolution took place. But just because of utility, I don't feel that we can be dismissive of it. And also, Bill, the challenge that's left for me is once we exclude the spiritual path, we are left with post-Enlightenment rationalism. And what that seems to lead to is the reverence for the individual, celebration only of the primal urges and the primal desires and that which can be measured.
And believing excessively in spirituality and things of a beyond the realm of earth mode leads to flying planes into buildings and lots of other horrible things. But
don't you think there's a counter argument to all of that? That really those things are about dominion and territory,
saying,
and they're not.
Once you let the balloon off the ground, once you take off those blocks and let your mind just go completely free up in the air with nothing to tether it, then it's very easy to go from I love my God to you have a different God, I really should kill you.
But is this not true in the post-Westphalian Treaty age of nation? I love my nation, so therefore I don't like your nation. I mean, what is the distinction between a religious ideology and nationalistic ideology when it comes to the boots on the ground and the drones in the sky? We're killing you rationally at a distance. Sorry about that wedding we bombed. You are
going to bring in the Treaty of Westphalia.
The Treaty of Westphalia is on the table, Bill.
I believe it was 1648.
I believe it was that
and I believe
or 12 minutes before 5.
I believe it followed the defenestration of Prague, where they threw him out the window, where we get the word defenestration.
Well, out the window. Out you go.
And it's that word has now come back into vogue, not just because Putin does it literally, but it's a word that people use when they're talking about someone being canceled. He was defenestrated, which is great because it's from French, the fenêtre window. Hey, thanks for watching the clip. Hit the subscribe button now so you never miss out on our Club Random content that's posted daily.